New episodes of the I Know You Didn't Ask podcast are out every Monday and Friday, available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Welcome to I Know You Didn't Ask. I'm your host, Megan O'Donnell, and I appreciate you guys all sticking around while I was on set last week. And we're a day late here, but you know what? I had to do a little bit of a wrap out yesterday. So today I am back, baby. And you know what? It is fun when you go back to your old stomping grounds. You know, it was an exhausting project, 4 days on set, 4 15-hour days in a row, waking up at 4 in the morning, driving to the city, working for 12 hours, then driving home. It takes a lot out of you, but it was honestly kind of nice to feel good about working and not feeling like a total imposter, which imposter syndrome is so real. And I feel it both in production when I work on those types of gigs, as well as just podcasting in general. So it felt really good to do a good job and to feel proud of myself. I mean, there's clearly a lot going on in this world, which is obviously why I'm starting with kindness to myself. Viewing my actions without judgment is what I've been working on in therapy. Shout out to therapy. If you can swing it, absolutely do it. And I gotta say, I don't even go to like a doctor therapist. Like, I'm going to someone who calls themselves a life coach. And she's doing wonders on my life, but I probably should be paying her less given the lack of credentials. But that's something for 2026 for me to unpack. I will say, one thing in life that keeps me stable, keeps me humble, is prepping and working out of the Schumacher Clifton Chevy dealership. I'm there like every 6 months for an oil change or this or that, whatever the fuck is needed to be done. And I don't know, there's something very comforting about this like little customer lounge that they have. It's very warm. The TV's always on, and it always goes from the Sherri Shepherd Show to the Jennifer Hudson Show. So I catch up on, how those ladies are doing. We obviously had segments about shapewear, duh, because everybody needs to look slim during the holiday season. But it's also a great place for me to crank out some work. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, when I'm stuck in that little customer lounge with cheap, gross coffee, I get so much work done. So this episode is brought to you by Schumacher Clifton Chevy. Shout out to the 2024 Trax we drive. It's a great car. Look at me vamping so much so that I don't get into the dumpster fire that is our world. So of course we want to stay light and fun, but we cannot disregard the devastating news that came out of many corners of the earth this past week. First, we can quickly touch on the devastating shooting at Brown University, leaving 2 people deceased. And one of the people who had experienced the shooting at Brown was also a survivor of the Parkland shooting a few years ago. So safe to say that kid is fucked up. Like, you kind of can't go back from a double shooting situation. It's terrible. I mean, what is there to say? And you know what? These people in our government will say, oh, thoughts and prayers to the victims, rip in peace, like RIP, bye. The fact that it's so easily accessible to just get guns is alarming. And again, I understand the right to bear arms, it's our constitutional right, X, Y, and Z, but we need to create systems to make it harder to have access to them. And I mean, that's one devastating reality that our world has been going through this past week. Of course, there was a targeted and hateful anti-Semitic attacks in Bondi Beach, Australia, that was obviously targeting Jewish people celebrating the first night of Hanukkah. Couldn't be a worse way to start a religious holiday that goes on for many nights. So that's fucking disgusting. I mean, Bondi Beach is also a fabulous place, by the way. And somehow I always find a way to humble brag, even in the face of tragedy. I'm like, wait, Bondi Beach is fucking amazing. Don't let this heinous thing stop you from going there on any type of vacation to Australia. But again, like, these hateful targeted attacks just show that people are struggling with serious mental illness, so much so that they want to take guns and shoot people. And this honestly leads us to the devastating reports that Rob Reiner and his wife Michele Reiner were tragically stabbed to death in their home on Sunday, December 14th, And as of right now, it seems like all fingers are pointing towards their son, Nick, who has been arrested and is now being booked for murder by the LAPD and is currently on a $4 million bail. And I mean, there's so much to unpack here. Like, waking up on Sunday morning was confusing when you look online and it's like mass killing here, shooting here, universities, Rob Reiner murdered and, stabbed to death by his son. It's just been a heavy week. And I think this year has been a very trying time for a lot of people for a million different reasons, whether you're struggling with your personal identity, you're struggling with money, you're struggling to find love, you're struggling at work, you're struggling with your family, whatever your struggle is. I think it feels like it's kind of been heightened this year. And I mean, there's probably many reasons and many things we can point our fingers to kind of explain some of that, but it kind of just felt like a devastating way to kind of really lead into the holidays. And as we all know, Rob Reiner is an actor, director, producer. He basically defined the movies of the 1980s and so much of the genre of rom-coms. Of course, he made This is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally. I mean, iconic. Misery, A Few Good Men, Ghosts of Mississippi. He also played Archie Bunker's son-in-law on All in the Families. He's also the son of Carl Reiner, who is also a director and incredibly talented man in Hollywood for many years. So, I mean, yes, Rob was a Nepo baby, but that's besides the point. His wife, Michele, unfortunately also was stabbed to death. She was a photographer, an author, and a longtime philanthropist, and they had been married since 1989. They actually met on the set of When Harry Met Sally. And at the end of the movie, it was originally going to end with them not being together. But while he was shooting the film, he ends up meeting Michele. He falls in love with Michele and he rewrites the end of the movie to have them, be together. And it literally gives me the chills because, this couple had been together for over 30 years. And in Hollywood timeline, that is like a lifetime, basically. But I mean, there's just like a devastating reality of your child murdering you. And so let's talk a little bit about their son, Nick, who is 32. He actually made a movie with his dad, Rob Reiner, back in 2016 called Being Charlie, which was all about Nick, the son's experience in rehab as a young man. So Nick himself had experienced homelessness for a few years between Maine, New Jersey, and Texas. He would spend nights and weeks on the street. He first went to rehab back in 15, and then he said he went 17 times after that first stint in rehab. And I mean, there's obviously mental health issues there, substance abuse issues there that they've been obviously trying to address and deal with for a very long time. Back when they came out with this movie Being Charlie, there were interviews with the two of them, and I watched some of them, and obviously it's like devastating to watch. And you see them obviously openly talk about Nick's situation and his trauma that he went through going to rehab and handling all of these very serious issues at a very young age. And you see that Rob is very much like there for him and is saying like a parent's greatest responsibility is to take care of their child, and that's what we want to do for him. But fast forward 10 years and now he is killing both of his parents in cold blood. It seems like obviously something had changed at that point. And it is hard when you become kind of like the problem child in your family. And he has two other siblings, and he clearly was kind of like rejecting family values. He was also kind of failing to launch on his own. He didn't seem to really have any other job or tangible skills really outside of the one movie that obviously his dad directed and helped write. Kind of were given a bit of your quote unquote career. So then obviously he's, also riddled with substance abuse issues. And he even talked about a time in 2018 where he talks about how he was on a meth rampage and he completely trashed his parents' guest house. He punched the TV. Like all of it seemed like he was kind of being like braggadocious in a way. And he was like, can you believe what I did? couple years ago. Like, how crazy am I? It's like, yeah, guy, that's your parents' house that they busted their ass to make for you, you ungrateful piece of shit. I think it's hard also for parents who are dealing with a child who's like not able to self-regulate or move past some of these issues, even with the help of rehab facilities. Like, I don't know, if someone's been to rehab like 18 times and it's still not working, then like you kind of start thinking like, okay, well, maybe there's like nothing that's actually going to fix this child's psychology. Like, this is who they are, which of course then as parents like makes you feel shame and guilt and also like a little humiliated in a way, and not to say that it's the son's fault or whatever, but like when you're parents of a kid who's like consistently misbehaving and like making, major issues in your family dynamics, and can't live on his own and still needs to rely on you guys for money and housing and all the things. Like, it's kind of embarrassing a little bit. And like I just said, he was living at their house at the time of the murders. And so he was obviously relying on them so much. So it's interesting because it's like him killing his parents might have been like this extreme version of like rejecting the control that they had over him, or even like trying to find autonomy and this freedom from them, so he kills them. I don't know. I mean, it's fucking terrible. And of course you also have to think, his dad was this big famous man, incredibly successful, and again, that is hard to fall. And that is a hard pill to swallow when you feel like you're not good enough. So, I mean, maybe he was trying to, find his own identity by kind of severing himself from the parents, from the dad who has defined him his whole life. There's many different ways to think about parricide, which is like the phenomenon of killing your parents. And but you still don't really think that happens. I mean, but you still hope that that would never happen. I mean, it's just really fucking sad. There's like no real way to kind of move around it. I mean, it's all just devastating. And even one of their daughters, Tracy, said, "I came from the greatest family ever. I don't know what to say. I'm in shock." And I mean, this is going to make a massive dent in their family unit. And it's just so sad. Of course, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know their relationship. There's so much speculation. But it seems like this guy was pretty freaking damaged. And whatever happened earlier that day, the day before, the weeks before, must have truly triggered him into psychosis. Because also, stabbing someone to death, both your parents, that is a very intimate way of killing somebody. It's not just like one stab and you're done, like a gunshot. You kind of have to keep going to really make sure they, get the business. And also, you have to think like one of the other parents was like watching the other one get murdered and then probably knew, well, I'm next. And it's terrifying. It's really scary. And a security guard that was actually hired to patrol the family's home after the Palisades fires, I guess there was a lot of looting in that area, had told the New York Post that Nick, their son, had been living with his parents for about a year at that point too. So God knows what was going on in that house. He's 32 years old. The guy, move out, get a jab. But I guess it's easier said than done when you have severe mental health issues. Supposedly, Rob and his wife Michele went to Conan O'Brien's Christmas party on Saturday night, the night before they were murdered. And they did bring their son Nick along with them. And during the party, supposedly Rob and Nick got into a very loud argument, and it was loud enough for other people to hear. Sources then said that they were told that Rob and Michele then left the party, and nobody knows if Nick had left the party at that point as well. So it seems like, something might have popped off at this party. God knows what. Again, we'll never know. Conan, release the tapes. What the fuck happened? Because you're the only person to know at this point. But it's just terrible. It's really, really sad. And I'm not some Rob Reiner head. Like, I'm not like his biggest fan. But I don't believe anybody should be, murdered to death by their child who you've given your entire life to. So Rob Reiner himself was a very strong Democrat, and he's done a lot for our country from a Democratic standpoint. And naturally, our fucking small dick president came out with a tweet, and I'm just gonna read it. I try not to get into politics, but this was just a fucking embarrassing response to a hard weekend for all Americans. He said, a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michele, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was also known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsessions of President Donald J. Trump. He's talking about himself, by the way. With his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the old golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michele rest in peace! Exclamation. I mean, honestly, like the suggestion that their criticisms of his government may have led to their child killing him is fucking bonkers and so wildly ignorant. Honestly, like he has found a way to somehow politicize a tragic murder. Like that is a new low for our limp dick president. And there's literally not an ounce of evidence that politics had played any role in their untimely death. So for him to just like come out of nowhere with this heinous statement is ridiculous. And I like how he's now calling people who don't support him as having Trump derangement syndrome. And I have to say, I feel like that's actually the name of the people who support all of his dumb fuck ideas because they're the truly deranged idiots. I just want to say that this president is an absolute fucking embarrassing disgrace. He's done a million worse things than this, but like, it seems like, you're missing something called the empathy chip in that little noggin of yours. And just time and time again, you prove to not be a leader. You prove to be a coward. And this man was literally killed by his son, like stabbed to get death. And you still find a way to saying he was killed because of the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease. Seems like we used a lot of big words here, Trump, to describe something that's just untrue. And I don't know. I don't want to get too into it, but it's just yet another embarrassing reality for us Americans here. Again, all in all, this is just another reminder to, not buy your mentally ill people in your life guns. Maybe just stop buying guns in general. We really don't need them. Unfortunately, all we can do at this point is really vote for people who value American safety from domestic terrorists and, don't fall prey to the fear mongering that is being literally directed at us from our president. And don't fall for it, people. We are not dumb. We will not surrender to this foolishness. Okay, let's take a quick turn into Divorce-ville. Not good. Braunwyn Newport and husband, or shall I say ex-husband, Todd Bradley are separating after 9 years of marriage. This is Braunwyn's second season on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And I mean, I don't blame her and I don't blame him. I mean, he's gross, he's dismissive, he clearly has a weird relationship with Braunwyn. He looks down on her. He makes her feel small. It did seem like she saw her relationship with Todd from her first season and knew some things needed to change. But she kind of said like it was more changes that I needed to make versus him needing to make, which is never a good sign. Then we see season 2 where he has all these infidelity claims, like he's farting and making out with a girl. He's looking at, skimpy photos on the flight. He obviously was unfaithful to her earlier in their marriage before even being on the show. And so it seems like, she was like, you know what? I got this show. People really like me. I can leave your ass. And she's probably going to make a nice, pretty penny from that divorce, which, mazel tov, go off, girl. Like, you deserved it. Because if you had to lay under that man while he was, like, trying to pump it in you and he's, like, sweating, like, he's one of those guys who sweats so much during sex. And, like, she's just, like, laying under him and, like, a drop of his sweat falls, like, onto her chest. And she wants to throw up. But then she's like, oh, he's really rich. So, like, let me just, like, close my eyes and pretend it didn't happen. Kind of get that was the vibe for them. And you know what? I hope she's better off. She will bounce back, which is great. But I mean, even on his case, like, you know what? I too wouldn't be able to be faithful to someone who's like picking me up in like an inflatable dinosaur costume at the airport. I never found that to be funny or cheeky because it didn't seem like he was all that into it. And she was like, look at this funny thing we do when he's traveling and probably hooking up with other girls somewhere else. And then I pick him up in the car and I'm a unicorn. I'm a big chicken. It's like not funny. It's like kind of desperate. And so I don't blame Todd for maybe cringing at that part of their relationship. But Braunwyn also did move her parents into their house that he's paying for. So that could be another kind of nail in the coffin where he's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with your scary mom and, your dad who's going through something medically. I don't remember exactly what the situation is. I'm not surprised by this because a couple months ago I was seeing her do some branded videos for some company. She hadn't been wearing her ring, and so that's always a little suspect when like you have a big old diamond on your finger. You're usually like known to be wearing it, but I kind of saw the writing on the walls a while ago. And I mean, good for her because they look fucking miserable together on this show. And like we all saw him eat the cherry from the ice cream sundae when she clearly was like, I love eating the cherry the most. And he's like, sorry, I wasn't listening to you. I was too busy thinking about eating your cherry. They seemed like they were in love a little bit, but it also seemed like he was constantly belittling her and would shit on her interests and shit on her friends. And like the whole ethos of the show of the Real Housewives is to like air out your dirty laundry and have some, sometimes low stakes drama, sometimes high stakes drama. And like he seemed to like not be able to understand that and support that reality of her being on this show. But I have to wonder, I mean, he obviously was the victim of someone saying he has gout dick, and that's a problem. And so it's really hard to come back from a comment like that about your penis. And I will say the New York Times did come out with an article this week, said, what is gout and why is it on the rise? I have to say, I love how Lisa Barlow put gout in the cultural conversation, but it did not mention gout dick. I did like Control F to like find it so I didn't have to read the whole gout article. I did learn a little bit about gout, but we're not going to get into it because I don't care. But evidently, it's on the rise, and look out for symptoms, people. I will also say, Bronwyn will bounce back. She'll find another guy. All good. And now maybe she won't need the man for as much stability as she might have needed 10 plus years ago when they first met. But I wonder, if Todd is going to start dabbling with some of the ladies from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Like, I kind of get the feeling that Brittany might try to slide into Todd's DMs. And I feel like she's like, okay, everybody hated me with Jared Osmond, but I found a new guy who's really wealthy and possibly has gout dick. Well, Brittany might just do it. I feel like Brittany kind of relies on being like the kind of hot, crazy girl. And I feel like Todd might be into that. Because I feel like we don't know the side of Braunwyn that he ended up meeting 10 years ago. And you never know who these people are before they get onto the Housewives. We see like the public persona of who they want to be when they get on this show. And I have to say, it seems like Braunwyn was always trying to like be seen because there are so many photo shoots of just her from like years before being on Housewives. And I don't know about you, but I don't really think I'll ever have another photo shoot. I'm gonna post my headshots. Actually, I'll post my headshots today on Instagram. So head over to Megan the Podcaster if you want to see my gorgeous little face in a fake studio that I put together with a photographer in Montclair that I know. Follow me at Megan the Podcaster if you're interested in my gorgeous headshots. I mean, I have to say I look really cute, so just like be nice to me in the comments or else. Okay, we have to talk about another divorce. And this divorce I don't really care too much about. Amy Schumer, comedian, actress, is divorcing her husband, Chris Fisher, who is a James Beard award-winning chef. They've been married for over 7 years at this point. Amy actually is listing their Brooklyn Heights home for sale right now for just a cute $14 million, which is coming in about $1.5 million less than she bought it for. So not really making a good profit on this. But when you're able to like buy and sell $14 million properties, I feel like you're not really caring about the profit that you're going to be making because you know you likely have other money making opportunities outside of buying and selling this home. But we all know Amy Schumer was hot shit in comedy for a while, but she had a true fall from grace. I think the public just turned on her for many reasons. One, of course, she like steals jokes, and I've always kind of found that to be a hard argument because obviously it's not crazy that two comedians or two performers would have similar thoughts and similar angles to jokes, but I ended up literally watching a 26-minute long highlight reel of jokes that she's stolen where it was like original, original skit from Key and Peele, and then, seeing her skit from her show side by side. It's the exact same thing. So it's actually like not hyperbolic to say she steals jokes. It's like, no, she steals many, many, many minutes of jokes from all different comedians and walks of life and whatever. But I have also kind of found her jokes in her previous stand-up specials to kind of be like a little bit lazy and quite frankly crass. All of her jokes are like so sexually focused. And again, like that can be funny at times. And obviously like I'm no saint. I love edgy humor and I like jokes. I like sillies. But like shockingly enough, Amy, like women are more than just a hole. And like that is kind of like how you've positioned women in your stand-up sets, and even the way she would talk about like casual sex with her partners like is like indicative of how she feels about herself and how she feels about women, which is like pretty terrible. And like we literally are just a hole. Like you're just here to like suck dick and like starfish on the bed for your lame boyfriend. So I don't know. She's always just kind of given me like the feeling of like I'm a cool girl. Like I'm just one of the guys. I can make fun of women too. Yeah, we are just pieces of meat that you can control. And I just like never liked that angle for her. I've always found like it to be like low hanging fruit. Like, oh wow, a woman making fun of women being sexually active. Yeah, of course guys are gonna like watching you because men are sick and like to belittle women in that way as well. So they find that funny. But I think it's just kind of like her being desperate to be heard and to be seen by her peers in comedy. But that's besides the point. I will say I ran into her once in Chinatown and I think she was filming something, and like I was, I don't know, walking somewhere and like I looked up and she was like right in front of me. I was like, "Oh my god, Amy Schumer. Like it's lovely to meet you." And she literally like looked at me deadpan in the face and like didn't say anything. And I'm like, "You could just spit in my face, bitch, if you really like want to send a message, but instead you just say nothing." Like I don't know, you're standing on the streets of Manhattan. Like, yeah, people are going to recognize you and people are going to say something to you. But maybe that's why I really, had some issues with her. But she's going to be getting divorced from Chris Fisher. As I said, he's a chef. I will say I have his cookbook, Beetlebug Farm, and I got it from a Bon Appetit sale. Basically, when I worked at Condé Nast, they would have like the Bon Appetit sale. I don't know when it would be, but basically they would like sell lots of cookbooks that they had. They would sell dinner plates and this and that and like all these random like kitchen supplies and items. And they also would have like the beauty sale for Allure magazine. They'd sell like a ton of the products and it would be at like, 90% off whatever the retail price is for these items. And those were always the best days of working at Condé Nast, but I ended up actually getting Beetlebug Farm, his book from that book sale. And I have to say, I actually cook through the cookbooks that I purchase because I love to cook and I love like the analog feeling of like reading a cookbook and having this like very bucolic moment in my mini kitchen that should be larger, but that's besides the point. I've never cooked anything from that book. And I think after this divorce announcement, I gotta get rid of it. There is this one scallop and rice dish that I think he calls like crack scallops or something along those lines that I feel like I would actually really enjoy. So maybe eventually I'll make that. Also, if you guys are watching on Spotify or YouTube, you can see my little dog prancing around behind me. It's adorable when I edit it and I just like see her like walking around behind me, and sometimes like she is eating her lunch. It's absolutely adorable. So check that out on Spotify and YouTube. I'm very cute. I'm wearing Old Navy original collared shirt, and I have a popped collar. I'm leaning into a popped collar look. Earrings by R8, necklace by R8. Their shit's kind of like cheap, honestly. Don't buy it, but I had a gift card, so I'm using it. But anyways, yeah, I have his book, but they're breaking up. She posted what I found to be the most embarrassing divorce announcement I've read in a while. And again, it kind of harkens back to this like, I'm a cool girl. Nothing hurts me. Nothing matters because I'm just cool. I'm fucking cool. She wrote, blah, blah, blah. Chris and I have made the difficult decision to end our marriage of 7 years. We love each other very much and will continue to focus on raising our son. We would appreciate people's respecting our privacy at this time. Blah, blah, blah. Not because I dropped some LBs and thought I could bag a basketball player, and not because he's a hot James Beard award-winning chef who can still pull some hot tail. Amicable and all love and respect, family forever. They do share a child together, so of course, they're going to be in one another's lives. But she ended up posting another very chaotic Instagram story, and so now there's like copy going down vertically, and then there's also like two little paragraphs on both sides. One saying, bedroom tour by Jean. I never wear jewelry. I don't get Botox or filler. I didn't lose 30 lbs. I lost 50. You dumb fucks. I lost 20 more pounds. Not to look hot, which does feel fun and temporary. I did it to survive. I have a disease that makes your face extremely puffy that can kill you, but the internet caught it and the disease is cleared. Sorry for whatever feeling it's giving you that I lost weight. I've had plastic surgery over the years and I use Mounjaro. Sorry to annoy anyone that they lets down. I'm pain-free. I can tag with my son. Now, one of the side blurbs says, whatever ends up happening with me and Chris has nothing to do with weight loss or autism. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we make it through. He's the best. The next section says, happy to share more if anyone has questions about how I'm looking or feeling or where I am in my perimenopausal process. Amy, like, are you good, girl? Like, also, this is not a glowing review for the Long Island public school system. I have to say there's not a comma, there's minimal punctuation. I don't know what I'm reading, and I don't know why she's giving this information out. Let's just start from the top. So I never wear jewelry. Okay, like, did anyone care? Like, was anybody saying, oh, where did you get those quarters jewels? I don't think that was one of your things you needed to stand up for. I don't get Botox or filler, okay? I didn't lose 30 pounds, I lost 50. That's my favorite, where she's like, don't get it fucking twisted. I actually lost 50 fucking pounds. And again, it's not to look hot, which does feel fun and temporary, which, like, anytime I get skinny, it too feels only temporary. I know this too shall pass. I will get back to being a size. That's just what my body naturally wants. She said, I did it to survive. I had a disease that makes your face extremely puffy that can kill you, but the internet caught it and the disease has cleared. She has endometriosis, by the way. I found this out through, some hard-hitting research that I've been handling for you guys. Sorry for whatever feeling it's giving you that I've lost weight. I've had plastic surgery over the years and I use Mounjaro. And then, I mean, the perimenopause thing, okay, yeah, whatever, sad, that sucks. It's good that you're getting that fixed. But my favorite is whatever ends up happening with me and Chris has nothing to do with weight loss or autism. Because I guess her husband's autistic. So, like, that's been, like, half the jokes that she's been talking about in her last few specials. So what is she going to talk about if she can't belittle her husband on stage? I never understood that. And I think men become a punching bag for their wives when they're comedians. And it goes both ways. Of course, men will talk about their wives as well. But, like, as much as I want to say, like, we're in a progressive society and feminism rules all, but, like, I don't know, at the end of the day, it's not that, like, hard or deep to understand that, like, maybe your husband doesn't want to be belittled by you in any way, shape, or form. And then there's, like, layers to that too, because obviously, like, these comedians are making, like, tons of money and their partner might not be making that kind of money. And that, like, automatically will do something to your partner's psyche. And for someone to say, like, that's not true, men don't care about making less than women anymore, like, that's just untrue. Like, of course, a man can be supportive of his partner, and happy for her, especially if she's making more money than him. But it doesn't mean that that's not like a lingering insecurity for some of the men. I'm not saying all of the men, but even like Heather McMahon, I love her comedy, but her last special was called like Breadwinner, I think. And it was all about how she like makes more money than her husband and how he sits on his ass and watches golf all day while she's working. And it's funny. It's funny for the audience, but I can imagine her husband is like, oh, wow, I'm glad she's profiting off of making fun of me being the house. I never understood when people make their entire comedy bits like all about their partner. I just feel like it's like a bad omen for the future. Like if you don't respect your partner enough to know like certain things like might be off limits because it might like, I don't know, hurt their feelings, then you might have to like not do that, which yeah, means you might not make as much money or people might find you as relatable, but also like would you want to jeopardize your relationship for money? Like I don't know. And I'm probably wrong and I'm probably a horrific feminist, but like I wouldn't pick on my husband's like inability to make as much money as me in a comedy special. Like it just feels like that's mean. I don't know, but what do I know? I've been married 2 months, so I'm new to all of this. Okay, we have to talk about people who I'm constantly talking about. Alec and Hilaria Baldwin might be moving to the town I live in New Jersey. You guys, I don't know what I will do if I run into her in a coffee shop after I have a 3-part deep dive into all of her lies and misfortune that has come up in the last few years. They are looking to possibly be moving to Montclair, New Jersey. It is a really fabulous town, and lots of like A-listers live out here, actors, comedians, hosts. It runs the gamut. It's a very artsy fartsy town. There's a Montclair Film Festival, which is a huge event that God knows Alec Baldwin will become a part of. The two of them have 7 children to send to private grade school as well as universities eventually, and Alec isn't going to live forever. He's not looking too hot. What is he, a cute 67 or something? And he's probably looking for some public schools. And New Jersey is ranked #1 in public school education, especially a town like Montclair that has been having its issues with the school districts. If you guys are interested, check out the Montclair Pod. It's the show that I associate produce for. It's a fabulous news show all about Montclair and Essex County. If you're interested in moving there, hit me up because it's a really great town and I'm obsessed with it. I will not be able to buy a property here because your girl is broke, but I will be looking at neighboring towns. That's besides the point in a 2026 problem that I will be handling. But if Alec and Hilaria Baldwin move to Montclair, New Jersey, then I feel like they're playing like an elaborate trick on me because I've been obsessed with them, their lore for years. And I was burned by Hilaria Baldwin. I loved her as a character in the beginning of their relationship. I fell for the Spanish act. I fell for the yoga teacher mommy. I had a friend who once was like, I'm the kid's swim coach. And I said, give me the tea on Leonardo. Like, what's he up to? So I fell for it. So I've been following the r/Hilaria Baldwin saga for literally like 5 years now. It's really fucking embarrassing. And I remember exactly where I was when I found out when that Alec Baldwin ended up accidentally murdering the poor DP on the set of the movie Rust. Like I remember where I was. It was basically my Kennedy assassination. And so I've been following them for a while. As I've been mentioning, I've been a little bit bogged down with that job that I was on last week, so I haven't been able to do a lot of the prep that I need to get done. But my deep dive of Hilaria Baldwin will be out in the new year, and it's going to be comprehensive. I'm sorry, but there's like 3 things in this world that I'm kind of an expert on. One is like the Pete and Sebastian Show. It's a podcast with Pete Corielli and Sebastian Maniscalco. I've listened to that podcast like 4 times over. I would do so well in any kind of quiz about that show. And then, yeah, #2 would probably be Alec and Hilaria Baldwin lore. I know a lot about it. It's mortifying. It's my cross to bear. And the fact that they might be moving to the town that I live in is quite literally feeling a little bit too close to home. I will help them assimilate to the town. I'm hoping I'm going to see her like in her dirty house slippers, at a coffee shop. And then I'm a fake bitch though. Like I will try to infiltrate the situation. All of a sudden, I'm going to come onto this podcast and be like, "You guys, I am now one of their nannies. I signed the NDA, and now I am watching the Baldwinitos after school, before school, weekends, nights, it doesn't matter. I'm making myself available to the family. But yeah, I will probably find a way to meet her and definitely meet him. Let's be real. He's going to be hobnobbing near all the other friggin' fancy schmancy people who live in this town. And there's some fucking fancy ass people, but like for very rich people, it's a great town because I mean, they can take $3 million and get an 8-bedroom, gorgeous colonial revival, on Upper Mountain Avenue that will fit all their kids, fit all their nannies, and they have like a beautiful mansion with tons of property. You're 35 minutes away from the city, so you're close enough. They'll probably keep their apartment in the city or at least, maybe sell a portion of it because I think it's like a couple of different apartments put together. It makes sense to move to this beautiful town. You have the space for your kids, public schools, all of the good things. And, your proximity to Manhattan is amazing. And, of course, there's always fucking traffic. Maybe it takes you an hour to get into Midtown if it's crazy traffic, but it's not bad at all. I mean, it's a great town, and obviously so many celebrities live here, but I will die. I will die if they move to this fucking town. Oh my God. I don't know why I'm like taking this so like personally. I could feel like they're trying to target me, right? But again, I'm very much in my own head, so that's besides the point. Okay, we have to quickly just talk about the last thing for today. I was going to go into Bravo news, but I have a lot going on in my brain, so bear with me. But I finished season 2 of Owning Manhattan on Netflix. It's Ryan Serhant's real estate show that I absolutely loved. There is a wild cliffhanger at the end of season 2. And I need more. I need more and I need answers. I actually really enjoy the petty drama amongst the agents. The high-end real estate gamble and drama is really fun to watch. I like watching Ryan deal with all the realities that come with owning and growing a massive company. He's trying to balance his family life. He's asking people in his life for help. His wife is like a beautiful rock in his life. They're a gorgeous power couple selling their $20 million home in Boerum Hill to move back to Manhattan. Like, there's just something very wholesome about this show. And I think it's the specific creative arc that they have throughout the show. It is a perfect masterclass in an 8-episode not scripted reality show, but I would say structured reality show. It is very clear what the arcs are going to be. They trickle things in episode 2 that, develop in episode 5 and are finished in episode 8. It really kind of breadcrumbs throughout the season to then have a really impactful last episode of the show. I don't know why I'm like speaking to this like I'm talking about like Westworld or, the most incredible show, Severance. Like, I think Owning New York is my Severance. Like, it deserves an Emmy, and I'm just obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with Ryan Serhant. I love his energy. I love his suits. I love his tacky matte blue Tesla that he's driven around in. I'm just obsessed with Owning New York. I have to say, watch it now. Ryan Serhant, if you want to come on the pod to talk about it, please do. Let me know. Okay, you guys, great new shit is coming out this week. Tomorrow I have an episode called My Dip Party episode. I hosted an event for 20 plus people this past weekend, and every person had to bring a dip. We're going to dip dive into the details on the dip party. Basically, everybody brings a dip. You enjoy dip. You have fun. You celebrate the holiday season. All good things. So we're going to talk all dips all day tomorrow. Friday, we have the With Love Megan holiday special deep dive. You guys, you're in for a doozy. I always see that the numbers that I do for my With Love Megan episodes are quite high in a shocking turn of events. So be sure to tune into that and share it with a friend who also wants to kind of like shit on Meghan Markle, but also is like deeply envious of her life. And, I have very conflicting feelings about her. And again, it's going to be an hour-long episode of me yapping and yapping and yapping, and then ending the episode saying I'm like incredibly envious of her fabulous life. I don't want to be, picked on and forced to leave the UK because of like racist, horrific things the media is saying about me. But like, I do want to live in Montecito with unlimited money and a camera crew watching me make potpourri. Like, that is kind of like what I want. So I don't want her life, but I want her life, You know what I mean? But anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't tuned into my Unknown Caller, the high school catfish recap that I came out with last week, please do so. It is so good. I hate to say that I listen to my own show. I've created the show that I want to hear and I can't help it, but tune into that and be sure to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Megan the Podcaster. Every month I grow and I keep growing, and that's really exciting. But it wouldn't be possible if it weren't for you awesome listeners who consistently write me kind things, interact with me on social media, and do all of, the rating, reviewing, and all that bullshit, because it really does make a difference. As much as, we beg and all these podcasters are begging for it, it really does make a difference with helping other people find the show, which is ultimately what I really want. I need more people to join the party, have fun, talk Rob Reiner, RIP. Why would I get him back into this part of the episode? We were having fun, and then I just had to bring up the, murder. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to I Know You Didn't Ask. And don't worry, there's so much more to come from this show this week, so just be sure to tune in. Bye. New episodes of the I Know You Didn't Ask podcast are out every Monday and Friday, available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube.